Hey, Coach Reggie with Action Coach. As much as we were looking forward to, doing our, doing the Business Expo today, obviously, the cancellation made all the sense in the world, but wanted to share with you, obviously, things have changed so dramatically in the last week. How things have escalated quickly. Not just the way our lifestyles have changed, but the economic impact to the coronavirus crisis is pretty tremendous. And I think it's going to be a far more impactful economic situation than it is a health situation. So wanted to take a few minutes and share with you a State of the Union the morning of March 18th. What are some recommendations based on how the things are. Also being sensitive to the fact that, as I work with a lot of and been in touch with a lot of the small enterprises small businesses that I work with, that there is a varying level of escalation and impact on different businesses. I've got some of the businesses I'm working with that are shut down and unable to operate. I've got some that are up and busy as ever based on the market has moved toward them. Based on the economic the circumstances in the marketplace. So, it's a wide range. So understand that I want to provide some tips and guidance on how to survive this virus crisis as a generality, understanding that the context of how it applies to your business can vary from business to business and situation to situation. It's funny, I've got one of the businesses I work with, they are in Wilmington, they have 2 locations. In Wilmington, they're shut down, they can't operate. Their Fayetteville location is booming. So the sentiment of the marketplace, not only different from business to business, but even within the same business from marketplace to marketplace, how things are responding. So understand it's a very fluid, unpredictable, unexpected business. So, obviously the challenge is that it appears that this crisis could last for, economic crisis and the economic impacts can last for several months. They're doing a lot of good things to avoid the hump of having a lot of people catch this thing like it has in a lot of other countries, and having the overwhelmed medical systems and those kind of things where they can't treat people. But the problem is they're stretching this out and not having the big surge, which is a good thing health-wise. For business, that stretching things out can be a pretty significant issue. So knowing that we could be prepared for the long haul, and we really need to be prepared for the escalating levels of how this is going to impact our economic situation, our businesses. And you know what? It's a funny thing. It's not just about your customers and who you get money from, but it's also, how is this going to trickle down, from business to business based on who they're doing business with and how their business is impacted, and how the people they're doing business with, their business is impacted that could trickle down to you. So a lot of unintended consequences and unsuspected things. So let me dig into the best I can on what are some helpful things to be able to survive or operate in a crisis, and talk a little bit about some of the things that we've deployed within the what I refer to as the action community of business owners that we work with that are on the front lines doing this day in, day out. I'm going to share my screen here, move into so visuals can get a visual look at this. The first and foremost is really kind of changing your mindset to these aren't ordinary times, and it's time to go into command central mode. I've moved into that place mentally. My military background and being part of some pretty serious and high-level military operations from a command center mode has really set my my mind, and really prepared me to kind of make that mindset shift that these aren't ordinary times, that I'm operating in command central mode. I've really observed how we've seen a lot of hurricanes come through here, and how the governments, really go into that command center mode. And how they operate a little bit different. They communicate a lot more. In military operations, there's no weekends, there's no time off. It's a 7-day-a-week, long days, and kind of it's not stand down and operate is business as usual. It's different times. So understanding that you may need to tweak the intensity of how you operate. One of the also another thing you do is make sure that you're communicating, in that command mode and command mindset, that communication is key. Communication with your team, with your customers, with your vendors. The real important thing is in times of crisis, whether times of crisis or not, communication builds trust, it lowers anxiety, and it builds connection, which is really important in times like this. Your customers want to hear from you. Your team wants to hear from you. And I do strongly believe that this needs to be authentic communication. One of the things I'm seeing is very canned, very copycat style communications out of the business community. It's that same templated letter that covers many of the same points. Here's how we're dealing with the crisis. And it shows a lot of, it's communicating information, but it's not communicating authenticity. So make sure you use methods and modalities and mediums that are communicating authenticity, using video, using audio, making some phone calls, having stand-up, huddles, and, using Zoom and video chats instead of going through less. And not saying all your communication needs to be that way, but also look to ramp up and more personalize and be more authentic in communications. A strong leadership. This is a time you're, as a leader, if you're the leader and business owner, then making sure that you are, part of your role as a leader is that you release energy in people. Make sure that the energy that you release and that you put into people is positive and it is strong. I would, some of the people I'm working with, I'm watching business owners have a high level of anxiety. It's funny, the scale of people that are very cautious, a little anxious, very concerned about this. And they're to the other side, there are business owners that are not impacted by this at all and kind of going, what's the big deal with this? So it's funny, the scale, and there's people all in between, in the middle, in the middle and all in between of these different levels. So the important thing is, if you do have some anxiety, if you do have some concerns, being able to curb that as much as you can and not transfer that to your team and customers, recognizing that they are really looking to you to be a source, a rock, a sense of stability. So you've got that responsibility. Being careful not to transfer your anxiety to those that you lead, because they will become anxious as well. Strong leadership, is really important during these trying times. To be, being vulnerable in more private environments, but in front of your team, being strong. Also lead to change. There are changes that are going to be made. Don't let your resistance, for those of you that have high resistance to change, don't let that be a choke point, to not allowing you to make the changes that you need to make. This is a rapidly moving situation. The people that will thrive out of this environment are the ones, and there's going to be plenty of people that thrive out of this environment. And there's going to be some people that don't survive this crisis. Their businesses will not make it. The people that are going to make it and thrive are the ones that are able to read the situation, make adjustments, make the right changes that they need to make, fairly instantly, and be able to make a impactful response. And again, also don't overchange. There are some people that overchange and change too quick. Make sure that you're making good, solid, thoughtful change, but don't let your resistance to change or be something that prevents you from from making the change you need to make. Cut back. Understand that you've got to be the CEO. There may be some things that you're emotionally attached to. That could be old processes, old procedures, the way things used to be. It could be to certain members of your team. most business owners are caretakers for their business and caretakers for the team and shepherds of the flock. And so understand that in larger organizations, imagine you came in and hired a CEO that said, look, I don't care what you do, you need to make my business survive during this tough time. Do what you need to do because this is my livelihood. Well, in your cases, you're probably not going to do that, but you need to channel that CEO mindset. What would the CEO do for the better good and survival of the company? What cuts do you need to make to be able to survive what is going to be an economic winter? Winter is coming, not seasonally, but on the economic scale. Winter is coming. It's probably going to be an intense and hard winter for the next few months, assuming this thing drags out for the economic impacts, drag out 3, 4, 6 months, as some prognosticators are predicting. What are you going to need to do to survive this winter? Don't wait too late to cut back. Some things that you cut back now and that could be, services you're getting, things that you've bought, things you've committed to, things that you're considering purchasing, like cutting back all the unnecessary stuff so you can survive what may be a little bit of a harsh 4 to 6 month economic winter. Also recognize that cash is king during these times, that you get your cash now so that you can survive. Look at extending credit lines, look at if you can, some of these aggressive government loans and those kind of things they're trying to do, even if you don't need it, talk to your bank, see what they can do to extend lines of credit because you may need that to survive this winter and outlast that. Obviously, back to the cuts from a minute ago, the cuts can help you survive longer, but, cash is the oxygen. It's the blood in your business. It's critical. So making sure that that you're in a good cash position and you're able to hang on to that at all methods possible. Shift your sales and marketing and sales message. Make sure that first of all, that your marketing message is appropriate for the time. I'm seeing a lot of marketing messages that haven't shifted, that aren't appropriate for today's day and age, and also from a sales perspective. Selling is weird at this time. There's thoughts in people's mind like, can sales be is it appropriate to call someone? How do I handle different sales situations? And I think the right thing to do is use some common sense. Think about how you'd want to be treated. Get feedback from your customers, but just find out what's going on. Just from a simple sales message, just to pick up the phone and say, hey, how's it going? What do you need? How is this impacting your business? How can I support you? Finding out what your customers need and being intuitive. The bottom line is there's no playbook and there's no manual for this situation because it just doesn't happen a lot. This is something that we haven't seen in our lifetimes. So making sure that you're intuitive and that you're filling the needs of your customers. What do you need? How can we help? How can we support during this time? And making sure your marketing message pivots to what's appropriate at this time. Get some perspective, feedback, and support from your peers. One of the things that I've done pretty quickly in command center mode and Uber communication is, I've gathered my clients together. We typically meet on one-on-one sessions weekly and in a group once a month. I get everybody together and we collaborate as a group of progressive business owners that are wanting to grow and improve their business. We have, because of how fast things are changing, I have moved to putting the business owners I work with in small groups, 5, 6, 7 of them together on a Zoom call twice a week for an hour, sharing what are you seeing from the front lines, where are you at with this personally, and how you're feeling about the situation, and also getting feedback and perspective from each other. And it's funny because you have that scale of people that are highly anxious and kind of freaked out about this, and very cautious. And then you have some other folks that are like, hey, it's fine, whatever. I'm really not going to let this impact me at all. So that difference in perspective, the people that not really feeling any impact at all and really aren't thinking this like a big deal, they are being, seeing the anxious folks and the concerned folks and their side of things. And then, the anxious folks really kind of talking and seeing the perspective of the people that aren't worried about it helps them see that not everybody's freaked out about this like they are. Getting perspective from your customers, thinking about doing something or thinking about initiating a program, doing surveys, getting feedback. One of the most important perspectives that I got from doing this team session is somebody that's been in business for about 30 years, but they've also recently lost a spouse. And, it's been a real tough time, and they've been through this traumatic water recently, and they had a great perspective. They said, I've lived through 2008. I've lived through some, pretty life-changing things lately. And I want you guys to realize, I know you guys are freaked out about the economic piece of this, but it's only money. It's only money. You can earn money. You're going to lose some money. You can go back and make some money, but it's just money. And that perspective comes from somebody that's just lost a life partner and is, kind of going through some heartbreak on that. And that perspective was all, incredible because we don't have that. Many of us are thinking economics, how do we protect our business? How do we do? And we're not really thinking of the other impacts. So so I'd really encourage you to get some perspective from others. It's really, really helpful. And getting support from other peers and progressive business owners can make a big difference, because the reality is your world as a business owner is so different. There's only 4% of the world's population are business owners with employees. That means 96% of the world doesn't have your concern or perspective. So being around other progressive, like-minded owners from there is really, really huge, because most of the perspective you're getting now are from employees, mostly your employees, and an environment full of employees that just have a different set of priorities than you do. So get some perspective from your peers, get in a group and community of people that are progressing and growing and really have that mindset of a business owner. Your existing customers are your best customers. You have to, at this time, take care of your existing customers. Make sure that, because if you're going to build a great business, it's going to be built on your existing and recurring customer base. So make sure these are the people that are going to be able to carry you through, because so many people right now are not trying new things. Unless you're in a real specific business where the market is moving toward you, then if you're in the toilet paper business, then you're probably getting all kinds of new customers right now. But but for most of our businesses, what's going to carry us through is the loyalty to our from our existing customers. So make sure you take good care of them. Also, just use good common sense and be human when approaching things. Think about what would, if it were, if I was in the other shoe, if I was in my customer's shoe, how would I want to approach this? How would I want to respond? Use some gut, use some intuition, but also don't be too wrapped up in your own perspective, because your customers may not be seeing things through the same lenses. And be human, be kind, and make sure that you're being intuitive to the situation. And by the way, some of you are not incredibly intuitive by nature, so get some feedback from some people that are intuitive. Lastly, the last thing I'll say, that if you need some tools, to be able to, improve your business during this time, one of the things that we typically hand out is the business owner toolbox. That's one of the resources we have, full of things that can help you navigate these kind of waters. It's full of some powerful education, training from, we're going to hand out probably, 60, 70 of these during the expo. So we've got a lot of great content in there. If that you would find help in that, give our office a call, or 540-7677. Talk to Bill. He can help with that. You can pop an email if you want to social distance away from the phone. Want to pop an email, and but love to put a business toolbox in your hand that will that's full of resources that will help you grow and improve your business during this time. Encourage you, stay well. If there's anything that we can do to help you and navigate these complex waters of building your business during this unpredictable time, this very fluid time that a lot of changes are happening on a regular basis, we're here to help. Let us know what we can do to help you during this time. Take care, and look forward to talking to you soon. All right, I gotta stop. There we go. Gonna stop here and gonna stop there. Sorry for the lack of editing, by the way. Got to push this out in a pretty quick hurry so you get the raw and edited version. So anyway, take care. Anything we can do to help you, let us know.